Hey everybody, Joseph here, welcoming you to another Stukent Expert Session. Today we'll be hearing from Erin McCoy. Erin McCoy is the Director of Content Marketing and Public Relations at Killer Visual Strategies, an award-winning visual communications agency based in Seattle. She has been working in PR and marketing for 5 years and is also an award-winning photojournalist. She is dedicated to boosting Killer's brand recognition and thought leadership in visual communication. Since Erin took on her marketing PR role, Killer has been named a member of the Inc. 5000 for 4 years in a row, has been featured in such publications as Inc., Forbes, Mashable, and the Huffington Post, and has been invited to present at such conferences as SXSW and SMX Advanced. We're all ears, Erin. Take it away.
Hello and welcome to Visual Content Marketing for Beginners. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Erin McCoy, and I am Director of Content Marketing and Public Relations at Killer Visual Strategies. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about us. Killer Visual Strategies is the leading visual communication agency in the United States. We've won more than 30 awards in visual communication, and our CEO, Amy Balliet, has spoken at 200 conferences all around the world about visual communication. We create a variety of visual content for our clients, everything from interactive dashboards and quizzes to motion graphics to the design of presentations like this one. So that's why I'm here today to talk to you about visual content. Our clients have included everyone from Adobe to Alaska Airlines. We've worked with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Harvard University, Expedia. And as you can tell, we've worked across a broad variety of industries, helping organizations define the right visual strategy to help them achieve their goals. Whether you're working in education, travel, or another industry, this presentation today is really, I believe, going to be helpful to you in your visual marketing because it is effective across all those industries. This presentation is called Visual Content Marketing for Beginners, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about what that means because you don't have to be a complete beginner to marketing to really benefit from what I'm going to talk about today. What I am sharing is some of the latest strategies, data-backed approaches to sharing visual content in a way that will build your audience and help you achieve specific goals. So a lot of marketers know the value of visual communication, but they don't exactly know how to deploy effective visual content. So even if you are an experienced marketer, you might find this useful, or at least that's my goal. And if you're new to marketing entirely, visual marketing is just going to be an absolute essential part of what you do. Again, welcome, and let's get started. I want to talk about the power of visual communication to start off. What is visual communication? Why is it important to you? Visual communication is something that's really fundamental to the way that we communicate. Some of the oldest types of human communication, cave paintings, are visual, right? They're not text. They are visual representations of animals, of human hands, whatever. They're designed to share information and to sort of connect emotionally as well. We don't know a lot about them, but they do make that connection, and we have learned a lot from them. Whereas text has really been around for only, several thousand years. Text isn't something that's a natural way that human brains process. In fact, visuals communicate information 60,000 times faster than words, making them incredibly powerful for any type of communication, including marketing. I want to share a little bit more information about this because I find this just fascinating. According to one study, our eyes can register 36,000 visual messages every hour. 36,000. Let's compare that to the number of words we can read per hour. On average, 15,000 words per hour. In fact, the way that we process visual messages is incredibly more efficient than the way we process words. If you think about it, one visual message, an image, something that you see on the internet, something that you see around you, contains a ton more information than a single word. We're really talking about a form of communication that is far more efficient and effective than text. So why does this matter to you? I think this is it in a nutshell. 91% of buyers prefer visual content over traditional formats. And if you're not speaking to them in a language that they want to hear, you risk losing them. So 91% of consumers are looking for visual content from your business. And really, this is only getting more true. Audiences are only going to read about 20% of a web page with 600 or more words on it. And we're seeing all the time stats about people shortening attention spans. With more and more visual content coming out every year, people are even less patient to spend time with text when they know that there's data out there that has been communicated visually for them in a video or in an infographic. They are used to communicating visually, and they're not going to spend the time with something that's just made up of text. And businesses are really seeing results when they communicate visually. Visual content has been shown to help businesses grow their revenue 49% faster. That's really an incredible number. So if you're looking for buy-in from people in your organization, this is just one of the data points you can show them to really make that argument that an investment in visual content is really the right choice. So today, I'm just going to share 3 really essential rules with you about visual content marketing. And I'm hoping that these rules will be useful in helping to get you started. I'll share at the end of this presentation some more resources for you to help you take those next steps into developing visual campaigns and developing really effective visual content. So rule number 1 for today, quality trumps quantity. I've been talking to you about the value of visual communication. And, if you have experience in marketing, you probably already know this. You probably already believe this, and you've seen evidence that this is true, that visual content is more engaging and effective. A lot of marketers are really putting their money where their mouth is here. They're using 12 to 14 different types of visual media to achieve their goals. And while that's huge and it's the right approach to explore different kinds of media, that isn't enough. Quantity is not enough. What audiences today are really looking for is quality. We'll see why that is. Again, here are just a few of the types of visual content you might want to utilize in any given marketing campaign. You don't want to use them for no reason. You want to use them in a way that's strategic, that we're going to talk about. And again, focus always on quality. Why? 94% of first impressions of your brand are based on design. 94%. That's huge. And that means that if a consumer, if a potential buyer encounters your brand for the first time and sees something that uses stock imagery, that is poorly made, that perhaps doesn't fit the character of your brand, that's not going to be a good first impression. And they might be ready to go ahead and move on to the next thing. Whereas high quality, well-made content will keep them coming back, will keep them interested in learning more about your brand. We've seen this demand just increasing and consumers' standards increasing as well. Just think about it. There's so much incredible visual content out there, everything from Westworld to Game of Thrones, RIP. You can see I like HBO shows, but we are seeing some of the best television and filmmaking and online video in history. And there's always going to be better visual content out there somewhere. So if you're not providing quality, they can find that quality somewhere else, and they're better than ever at recognizing when you haven't invested in quality. And the results are real. Custom designs are 7 times more likely to convert than those using stock images, 7 times more likely to help you make that sale, to get someone to your website. Whatever your goal is, custom made content really gets you there. But 35% of marketers are still using stock photos. So that right there is an opportunity for you as a marketer. When you're competing against organizations that are using stock images or icons or illustrations, you have the chance to show your company's commitment to quality, your company's commitment to attention to detail, and taking care in the messaging that you create. And that'll really make you stand out from your competitors. So while a lot of marketers, again, are using visual content, they're not all using it well. And that's what can make you different. And custom graphics also see 3.3 times more engagement than stock photography. So you're going to see people react when they see something that's custom made. And I just want to take a second to talk about custom, what that means. You've been seeing this presentation that I've been giving so far, and this presentation was custom made here by our team at Killer Visual Strategies. It was made to present in situations like this. We're not using stock photos that you can see elsewhere on the internet. We're not using the kinds of icons that you can buy in packages online. You've never seen these icons before unless you've seen some of the other things that our brand has created. And the result is that it does a lot better job of communicating who we are as a company. Each element of the design is created to help us achieve specific goals that we have in mind for our company. And you'll find that it shows that we are committed to spending the time to do things right. And every potential customer wants to hear that a brand is willing to do that. All right, rule 2, keep your audience top of mind. When it comes to keeping your audience top of mind, what we're talking about is thinking about their needs, their preferences, and how they like to communicate. And this is, again, where quality comes in. More and more audiences are looking for meaningful content that will be useful to them, regardless of whether they work with your company or not. We've talked about the visual nature, creating a custom visual space in which to communicate your message. But we haven't really talked about the quality of what message you're communicating. A 2019 survey from Venngage found that 90% of the most successful marketers prioritize their audience's informational needs over sales messaging. Again, I will put this presentation forward as an example. Hopefully the stats that I've been sharing with you will be useful to you, regardless of whether you want to learn more about my company later. My hope is that it's truly helpful to you. We're going to put sales messaging on the back burner at that point. Audiences respect this type of sharing. They appreciate the companies taking the time to share quality information. 77% of B2B or business-to-business marketers use educational content to nurture their audiences. Again, we see that sharing valuable information is really becoming one of the essential tenets of good content marketing. Thinking a little bit more about our audiences, we're not going to spend too much time talking about sort of all the different possible customer segments that you could work with. Really, the possibilities are endless. What's important is to spend the time getting to know your target customer on a number of levels. And I'm just going to use Generation Z as an example. Want to know things about them like age, their geographical location, their preferences when it comes to the ways that they communicate, and their habits online when it comes to how they interact with visual content. Generation Z, I picked them because they're such a huge segment. They will comprise 40% of all consumers next year. So really, almost any industry needs to pay attention to Generation Z. Now, let's look at some of their habits in terms of visual content engagement. They watch 68 videos a day on average, which is just a stunning number for me, but I guess that shows I'm not part of Generation Z. That's just an incredible number. Video is really dominating the way that they communicate with each other. And that means a lot when it comes to planning your marketing to really engage them on their own turf. They also watch video on 5 or more platforms every day. This tells me something about the types of content that I should create and how I should optimize my content across platforms. Obviously, like if we were doing a deeper dive, we might look into the types of the platforms where they spend most of their time, what types of content they expect from different platforms. For instance, they might get their news from Twitter, do more engagement with their friends on Snapchat. And there are a lot more questions that you can ask. Fundamental questions will include what types of content appeal most to your audience. We've already seen that Generation Z really likes video. There's a lot of evidence that they like interactive content as well. You might also ask, where will your audience encounter your content and what mediums perform best there? Again, like I've said, if your audience is spending a lot of time on Instagram and Snapchat, that's where you need to be. But you also need to really understand those platforms, what types of media people like to engage with there, and customize your visual content to really fit the platform. And finally, this question is going to lead us into our third rule. What content varieties and formats will help you achieve your goal? We've talked about audience more than anything. And I've said the word goal again and again. But keep in mind, I want to state this explicitly, that every piece of visual content should have a clear goal in mind. In achieving your goal, you're going to, and reaching your target audience, you're going to need to decide what content varieties, whether it's a motion graphic, an interactive quiz, whatever, what is going to really help you achieve that goal. And at Killer Visual Strategies, that's actually what we do. Our clients come to us, and they come to us with a problem or a goal, and we recommend a visual strategy made up of often a variety of content to help them achieve that. So our third and final rule, choose the right medium for your message. Seems pretty obvious, right? But again, sometimes we see people doing this a little bit backwards. You might say, okay, I want to reach Generation Z, so I need a motion graphic. Okay, that's the right way to do it. But you don't want to say, I simply want a motion graphic because I like motion graphics. You need to start with the goals you want to achieve, the audience you want to reach. Do your research, ask those questions we talked about, and then you'll come up with the right formula for you. Whether it could be an interactive landing page that your social media stories, which are videos, will drive to. That's a combination already of two different possible formats. I'm talking here about building a larger visual campaign, which is sort of the final step in this discussion. But again, start with those goals and that audience. Now, we can't talk about all those visual content formats today. That would take hours and hours. But I wanted to draw your attention to a few that are most effective. And of course, we've already seen just how powerful video is. 80% of all web traffic this year is video. 80%. So it's not just Generation Z that is consuming this. It's really effective for reaching a variety of audiences. And what's nice is that audiences, I think, you see from the data that their interest in engaging with branded video content is increasing. Between 2016 and 2017, you saw a 99% increase in branded video content views on YouTube. So people are willing to interact with branded video, but you need to give them something that they find worth spending their time on to keep their attention. Video is really helping organizations convert. Just in one example, 48% of smartphone users are more likely to make a purchase if your company includes an instructional video on your app or mobile site. You can already see just like the broad variety of potential for video, whether it's including an instructional video for people who have already bought your product or who are about to buy it, whether it's sharing educational content that will educate people a little bit more about your industry. Video, really, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Meanwhile, interactive content is really, really growing. 81% of marketers told the Content Marketing Institute that interactive content is more effective than static content at grabbing consumers' attention. Static content, things that don't move, like an infographic. So interactive content can be an online quiz. Like I think we've all taken a BuzzFeed quiz, and those get millions and millions of hits really whenever they come out. There's a reason that BuzzFeed is sharing this kind of content. It's extremely engaging. Interactive content helps us learn more about ourselves, helps us make decisions like those mortgage calculators on Zillow or other home searching sites where you can decide whether you can afford this house. They're incredibly effective tools, and they keep us actively engaged in the co-creation of the content. And the result is that interactive content can have a 70% conversion rate on average. 70%, which is incredibly high. So more and more marketers are recognizing the value of this content. So that's just a few types of effective visual content that you can utilize. But where are you posting this content? As you create quality content, you always need to keep in mind where you're going to be sharing that content and optimize for every channel. When you optimize, for instance, for Facebook, that means different dimensions than if you were posting on Twitter. For YouTube versus Instagram, if you're sharing a video, you might not only have different dimensions, but different length requirements. If you're putting something in your Instagram or Snapchat story, you're going to need something that's vertically oriented. You don't want to spend a lot of time making a high quality motion graphic just to post like a horizontal version of it in your Instagram story. That won't look very good. It's worth the time and investment to optimize for every channel so that each channel can really perform to its utmost capabilities. And we see results when brands do this. Brand Facebook posts, when you include images, they earn 87% of all engagement. So you can tell that the inclusion of visual content immediately boosts engagement because, I mean, after all, when you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, what does your eye go to first? Not text, but photos, video, website previews even. Images really draw people's attention, not only on Facebook, but of course on Twitter and other channels. On Twitter, tweets that have images get 18% more clicks. They get 89% more favorites. They get 150% more retweets, which is incredible. That retweets can really get your brand in front of a whole new audience. Really, visual content is incredibly powerful for connecting across a broad variety of channels, just as long as you focus on quality and optimization for each channel. So we've just shared 3 rules for visual content. If you'd like to learn more and move on to the next step, learn more about building whole visual campaigns, you can check out our ebook. It's free. There's a link down here at the bottom of this slide. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I've really enjoyed working with you today, and thanks for being here.